Carter for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to have taken into the record 2 articles from the EPA about ethylene oxide and its use in sterilization of medical devices.
Without objection.
Thank you.
So ordered.
Thank all of you for being here today. We appreciate your participation. Ms. Aguilar, I'm going to start with you and ask you, as I understand it, the responsibilities of environmental justice coordination and oversight fall onto the EPA, and it was a memo that was issued in February of 2018, EPA's Environmental Justice and Community Revitalization Priorities. And in that memo, EPA laid out its core mission of goals in regards to this topic. And one of the things that was mentioned in there was the achievable outcomes for underserved and overburdened communities with exposure to lead and access to safe drinking and harmful air pollutants. This committee has worked, and specifically this subcommittee has worked diligently in the past on clean water, particularly and with lead in our water, and particularly the situation up in Michigan that we worked on in this subcommittee. And I just wanted to ask you, how important is the Brownfields program and the Safe Drinking Water program to your core mission here?
So those 2 programs are very important collaborators and partners with the Office of Environmental Justice. As noted in the FY19 progress report, it talks about how environmental justice is integrated into not only our Office of Water, but also the office that leads the Brownfields activities.
Great. Thank you for that. The EPA mentioned cooperative federalism with state and local authorities, and this is extremely important to me, having had served in the past in local elected office. And I wanted to ask you, I believe this is the crux of the issue here and of what we're trying to do, is that localized effect that I think, along with private support, and that's very important as well, that drives real changes. Can you tell me how the EPA is interfacing with states and local communities on a regular basis?
So EPA continues to partner with states. Environmental agencies are key partners in a lot of what EPA does. Specifically with our Office of Environmental Justice, we often work with our state environmental agencies, sometimes side by side on these very difficult and localized topics. But specifically, EJ grants, again, we authorize them, and they are for the specific purpose of bringing communities together so that these issues are not only just identified by the agency, but also identified by the local community and partners around, including state, tribal, private, and such, are coming together to work through these very difficult issues.
So I think you may have just answered my next question, and that is your involvement with the private sector. Do you have a direct relationship, a direct working relationship with the private sector?
So speaking for EPA works with a number of partners, including private sector. In the Office of Policy, we also have a program, Smart Sectors, where we bring private and a number of associations together on these very difficult topics. The Office of Environmental Justice actually works with that. And again, I'd be happy to follow up and provide you more information on what our Smart Sectors program does and how we work with.
Well, I would appreciate that. How important do you think that is to the long-term sustainability of this type of program, that is working with the private sector?
So working with the private sector and working with communities and working with states is vitally important. Everyone's voice is important. In order for us to really tackle these very difficult issues, we need to hear from everyone. And so EPA is committed to not only hearing from communities and states, but also from private industry.
I'm going to hold you to that, okay? And I'll tell you why. We've got some brownfield sites in my district that have, 20, 25 years. We need help. Local communities are trying to reach out. I've delivered a letter personally to the EPA director asking about a specific site in my district. Why 20, 25 years? Some of this is prime property that needs to be developed and would help these communities so much. So I appreciate your work, appreciate all of you being here today. This is extremely important, and don't think for one moment that we don't take this seriously, because we all do. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back, and again,